Most people doubt themselves. Most people have tried and then they've tried so hard that they give up.
If 100 people watch this podcast and if we have 2 people who are willing to contribute to the society in a positive way, this podcast would have been a success. Well, Christianity is here since 2000 years. Hinduism is there since 10,000 years. And Islam is rising since 1,500 years. Absolutely, warriors.
Yeah,
I remember you saying the same. We do it because it's tough. We do it because it's difficult.
Of course.
If it was easy, we wouldn't do it. And that's exactly what you said in our text message. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah. Is God real? In this world of degeneracy, OnlyFans, and all of this corn going around, you'll be mediocre. You can just be a feather in the wind and just live your life, die one day. And you can turn off this podcast because you probably won't be interested in the topics that we are discussing. But if you're truly someone who wants to change, you will continue listening. I have this concept called consumers and producers. Producers are creators or contributors. They go by many names. So the producers are the 2 or 3% in the world, and the rest 97% are consumers. They consume everything. And guess what? The billionaires, the majority of the wealth is with the 3%. People who produce. It could be a product, it could be a service, it could be content, it could be anything. And the side where you would want to be, ideally, is towards the producer's side, where you're producing value to the society. That's the concept that I always had in my mind, and I wanted to share it with you. So what do you think about it?
Oh, it's a great question, man. I believe that in the world that we're living in, unfortunately, a lot of people are almost like sheep. They're just following the herd. They don't think for themselves. They're influenced by everybody around them. But the 3% that are different to the 97% are those that create the life that they want and what they desire.
The 3%.
Now, most people are not aware that the 97% of the way people think is mediocre, right? It's not saying that, that they're worse than anybody else, but mediocre meaning that it's limited. It's the way that people think. You got to think differently. The way that I think, the way that you think is that anything is possible, right? Especially if somebody's already done it. Most people doubt themselves. Most people have tried and then they've tried so hard that they give up and they lose hope. What I believe is that everything that you see around you, from this table to the glasses to this watch to this suit to these wonderful microphones, to the building that we're living in, somebody had the thought before it was a reality.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Somebody had the thought before it was reality. Everything that we see.
Also this podcast.
Even the podcast, exactly.
Just a thought.
Somebody had the idea. This podcast was not around the way that it is now 100, 200 years ago. You probably just had a conversation with a guy probably writing some notes on some feather ink pen with some paper, and that was his podcast, and someone's going to read it. We'd probably call that a book or some kind of blog that was written or something. But now, look, someone made this telephone that's taken this high quality video.
Yeah.
That was made by a human being, some man like you or like me, but somebody that had the imagination to see it. This is the 3% that we're talking about. That is even like the 1%, creating something that never even existed, like electricity, light bulbs. Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was the guy that created the first fluorescent light bulb. Before that, we used to use torches and flames. That's how they used to be. But now look at the world and generation that we live in. iPhones, you can FaceTime your family, your loved ones. A different place in the world. If you was talking about this even 100 years ago, mine and your grandparents, they never see it. They just about had black and white TVs. So just think how much the world's changed in 100 years, and that's from a human being that is not part of the 97%.
Yeah.
Anybody can achieve anything they believe, but it's whatever their mind, as Napoleon Hill says, whatever their mind can conceive and believe, their mind can achieve. So that's the kind of mindset that I believe in, and I believe that yourself, to being able to buy your mum and dad that kind of car and reach that level of success, you have to believe in yourself. You have to be able to persevere, and we're going to go into some principles of success at a later point for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like, man, that's my long answer to this 97% of,
That's,
you know, the reality of people, and the 3% that are different.
It reminds me of Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. Like you said, out of that 3%, the 1% are the ones that create, which was never thought of. Like electricity, like Thomas Edison, the example which you gave. It reminds me of Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1. He talks about the same.
Yeah.
Highly suggested book. If you haven't read Peter Thiel's 0 to 1, please check it out. If not, there'll be a link in the description. You can go buy the book from Amazon.ca or .com, wherever you live. Corner.